Okay, so today we're diving into something pretty important. We're going all the way down to Fort Huachuca, and we're going to take a real close look at how they're tackling Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month.
Yeah.
Coming up in April 2025.
Right. And you really buried me in paperwork for this one. I mean,
Well, I wanted to make sure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It looks like we've got everything from those, those fragmentary orders, those fragos, which are basically, like quick updates to plans, right?
Yeah, the quick changes.
Quick changes, yeah, and a couple of those kind of lead into the big one, the operations order, the OPERAP 25032, and it's all focused on SAAPM version 3 for April 2025. So this is like their blueprint.
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, and I think what we should try to do today is kind of pull out the most important stuff for our listeners.
Yeah, break it down.
And give them a clear picture of what Fort Huachuca is doing and the goals behind all of it.
And I think it's important to remember that everything that Fort Huachuca is doing is part of the larger Army theme for 2025.
Right.
And that's step forward. Prevent, report, advocate.
Yeah, you see that theme kind of woven through everything.
Yeah.
Everything that they've got planned for the month.
Absolutely. So let's start with the basics. I mean, what's the overall commitment? What are we seeing from Fort Huachuca in these documents?
I think what jumps out right away is that they're really committed to the Army's SHARP program.
Right.
That's the Sexual Harassment Assault Response and Prevention program.
Yes.
And they're going all out for the whole month of April.
Okay.
They're really making it clear that they're aligning their efforts with the national SAPM initiative. And a big part of that is just making sure everyone on base knows what resources and support systems are there for them.
Okay, so really making sure everybody knows what's available to them.
Yeah.
So what's the driving force? What are the commanders at Fort Huachuca really trying to achieve with this plan?
It's really clear they see sexual assault as a major problem.
Yeah.
They're calling it a public health crisis.
Okay.
And a top priority for the whole Department of Defense. And I think their main objectives boil down to two things. They want to do everything they can to prevent sexual assault.
Okay.
And they also want to make sure absolutely everyone understands what services and resources are available.
Great.
If something does happen.
Okay.
And this is not just about soldiers on active duty. It's about their families. It's about DA civilians stationed at Fort Huachuca. It's everyone.
So it really sounds like they're going for a community-wide impact.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the ultimate goal, the way it's laid out in these documents, is for everyone to understand what the risks are, the risk factors, and what tools and support are available, both for prevention and for helping survivors. And they really emphasize people first.
Yeah.
That's kind of their guiding principle here.
Okay, so people first is the big overarching theme.
Yeah.
But how are they going to put all this into action? Let's get into the specifics of their plan. What are some of the events they have planned for April?
Well, they're not wasting any time. So on April 8th, they've got something called Leaders at the Gate.
Leaders at the Gate.
Yeah, and this is happening at both the Vandeman and Buffalo Soldier gates.
Okay.
Those are the main entry points to the installation.
Right.
And the point of contact for this one is Sergeant First Class Don Johnson Jr.
Okay.
So it seems like this is all about, leadership being present and visible, engaging with people as they come onto post, reinforcing how important SAPM is.
Okay, so that's a really direct way to get the message out there.
Yeah, it is.
Right when people are coming on post.
At the gate, yeah.
Okay, now I also noticed a big event that's planned for Warrior Sentinel Field.
Oh, yeah. Celebrate Through Action. This one's happening on April 11th.
What?
And it goes from 1200 to 1700, so basically noon to 5, out on Warrior Sentinel Field. This looks like it's going to be huge installation-wide. And the main goals here are showing support for survivors and really tackling those negative stigmas that can be associated with sexual assault.
So how are they going to do that? What are the activities for this one?
Well, it looks like they're aiming for a lot of interaction.
Okay.
So they've got multiple organizations setting up interactive game tables.
Okay.
We're talking EEO, the Equal Employment Opportunity Office, FAP, the Family Advocacy Program,
right,
the RSO, the Religious Support Office. battalions from the 111th MIBDE.
Okay.
That's the Military Intelligence Brigade.
Right.
The NCOA, the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy. NetCom.
Oh, wow.
Network Enterprise Technology Command.
Okay.
The 213th AVN REGT, that's the Aviation Regiment.
Okay.
And the Wellness Center.
So a really broad spectrum of organizations are all getting involved with this.
Yeah, a whole bunch.
That's really interesting.
It seems like they want to get people involved, not just give them information, but get them interacting and really engaging with the topics.
Yeah, right. A more active approach.
Exactly.
Now, for an event this big, I imagine there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work, a lot of logistics involved.
Oh, tons. And it looks like the 111th MIBDE, they're really stepping up. They're providing a ton of support. Water buffalo tents, chairs, hand wash stations, tables, trash cans.
Wow.
You name it, they've got it covered. Oh, and then they're also taking care of transportation for all that equipment.
Okay.
Plus, they're supplying the soldiers for setup and teardown. And they've got cadre and drill sergeants there to help keep everything running smoothly.
Wow. So they're really the backbone of this whole thing.
Yeah, they're really doing a lot.
What about other organizations? Who else is pitching in for this big event?
So DES, the Directorate of Emergency Services, they're bringing a fire truck, which I'm sure will be a big hit.
Of course.
And the military police, they're doing a canine demonstration.
Oh,
so people can see the working dogs in action.
Right.
And CID, the Criminal Investigation Command, they're doing a crime scene processing demo.
Which is, pretty powerful to see how that all works.
Yeah, and it really emphasizes the seriousness of the issue.
For sure.
And they're not just involving the people who work on base, they're also making sure that the AIT students are included as well.
Yeah, they're really trying to get everyone involved.
Yeah.
So all the AIT students, that's advanced individual training.
Right.
They're getting a 2-hour early release on April 11th. So they can participate.
Okay, so they're actually adjusting the training schedule to make sure that people can attend.
That's right. And the plan is to have students from NCOA, WOBC, and BOLC.
Those are?
Yeah, that's the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy, Warrant Officer Basic Course, and the Basic Officer Leader Course.
Okay.
So they'll be there from 1200 to 1330.
Okay.
And then the AIT students from the 111th MIBDE and the 213th AVN RGT will arrive after 1400.
Okay, and I saw that they're closing off Bissell Street to make sure that everybody can move around safely. Absolutely, got to keep everyone safe.
During the event, we've got leaders at the gate, we've got celebrate through action. What else is going on?
Well, later in the month, April 24th and 25th.
Okay.
They've got a Sexual Assault Response Tabletop Exercise, or TTX. It's at the Murr Community Center.
Okay, and this one is a little bit different, right?
Yeah, this one's more about bringing together the leaders from across the installation, all the different organizations. So it's really focused on preparation and coordination.
So what exactly is a tabletop exercise? What does that involve?
Well, it's basically a simulation.
Okay.
They're going to walk through different scenarios related to sexual assault response.
Okay.
And the goal is to make sure everyone knows their role, what they're supposed to do, and also how to work together effectively if something actually happens.
So it's all about making sure the response is as coordinated as possible. And I see that there's actually a lot of prep work leading up to the TTX itself.
Yeah, there are several IPRs.
IPR?
Yeah, those are inter-process reviews. They're basically meetings to discuss and refine the plan for the TTX.
Okay.
And those are happening on April 10th and 17th.
Okay.
Then there's a full dress rehearsal and FDR on April 24th, the day before the real thing.
Okay.
And the documents actually lay out specific times and rooms at the Murr Community Center for each of those events.
So they're really getting into the details here.
They are.
And who all is involved in this TTX? It seems like a pretty big group.
Yeah, it's a big collaborative effort.
Okay.
They want representation from a whole bunch of different organizations.
Yeah.
USA FHHC.
Okay.
That's U.S. Army Garrison Fort Huachuca Headquarters and Headquarters Company.
Okay.
LEA, that's Law Enforcement Activity. DPTMS, DFMWR, which is the Directorate of Family and Morale, Welfare and Recreation.
Okay.
DES, the Consolidated Legal Center. The RSO, PAO, USAI COE-HHC, that's U.S. Army Intelligence Center of Excellence Headquarters and Headquarters Company. And then there's the 111th MIBDE, NCOA, NetCom, ISAC, 213th Avian Retchi, JITC, MEDDAX FH, and CID.
That is a long list. it shows how many different parts of Fort Huachuca are really involved in this issue.
Yeah, it really does.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the more internal events.
Yeah.
What about public awareness? What are they doing to get the message out to the broader community?
Well, one thing that caught my eye is Chalk the Walk.
Chalk the Walk.
It's an installation-wide competition.
Okay.
And it's all about creating positive prevention messages using sidewalk chalk.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a fun way to get people involved.
Yeah.
It happens on April 15th and 16th, with judging on the 16th. And if you want to participate, you have to register with Sergeant First Class Victoria Alvarado and give them your team name, a point of contact, and where you'll be doing your chalking.
So they're encouraging people to get creative and spread positive messages.
Exactly.
And then toward the end of the month, there's Denim Day.
Right, that's on April 30th. And it's a national thing. People wear jeans to show support for survivors of sexual assault and raise awareness about sexual violence. Right. And they're encouraging people to participate at Fort Huachuca as well.
So a really visual way for people to show their support.
Yeah.
Now, besides these specific events, what other things are they doing to keep awareness high throughout the month?
Well, all the organizations that have marquees, those big signs,
right,
they're going to be displaying the SAAPM theme, that step forward, prevent, report, advocate slogan all month long. And PAO, the Public Affairs Office, they're going to be putting out public service announcements using all their different channels. And USAACO and FH Sharp, they're coordinating all the publicity efforts for the whole month.
Okay, so it's really a multi-pronged approach to getting the message out there.
Yeah, they're hitting it from all angles.
And with all these moving parts, I imagine communication and coordination are key.
Oh, absolutely. And to make sure everyone's on the same page, they've got these regular SAAPM inter-process reviews, those IPRs we talked about.
Right.
They're happening throughout the planning period. They're over at Building 44 and 420. And anyone who's involved in the operations or the Sharp side of things can attend.
Okay.
And Shauna Baker is the point of contact for those.
And for the tabletop exercise, I think there was a deadline for submitting the names of the people who would be representing each unit.
Oh, right. They needed those names by April 5th.
Okay.
So they could get everything organized. And that was to Trinity Peterson.
Okay, so those are all the events and activities.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there's also an effort to track everything that's happening across the whole installation.
Yeah. All the Sharp teams, they're supposed to send information about their SAPM events to Lana Tompkins-Stutzman.
Okay.
And that's, so everything can be compiled and reported up to the SOTM event tracker.
CRADOCS.
Yeah, that's Training and Doctrine Command.
Okay.
So it's all about showing what Fort Huachuca is doing to support the Army's bigger campaign.
So they're not just doing this in isolation.
No.
It's all part of a much bigger effort.
It is.
Okay, so we've gone through a lot of detail here. What would you say is the main takeaway from all of this?
I think what's most impressive is how thorough they're being.
Okay.
Fort Huachuca is taking a really comprehensive approach
Yeah.
to raising awareness about sexual assault, preventing it, and supporting those who have been affected.
Right.
And it's all tied together by that Army theme, step forward.
Yeah, that step forward, prevent, report, advocate. That's really, really coming through in all of these activities.
It is.
So for our listener, this deep dive has really given you a close look at what Fort Huachuca is doing. And it's a lot.
It is.
They're really, really committed to addressing this issue. And it's clear that they're putting a lot of thought and effort into making a real difference.
Absolutely. And it makes you think, how important it is for everyone to be on board with this.
Yeah.
It's not just about the big events.
Right.
It's about every individual taking that step forward, whether it's participating in something or speaking up or just learning more about the resources that are available.
Yeah.
It all adds up. And it makes you wonder what other small actions, things that maybe seem insignificant on their own, can actually have a huge positive impact on a community. That's something I think we all need to think about.
Yeah, that's a really great point to end on.
Yeah.
Thanks for really helping us break down this mountain of documents.
My pleasure.
And thank you, listener, for joining us on this deep dive into Fort Huachuca's plans for Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month, April 2025.
Yes. Thank you for listening.
We'll see you next time.
See you then.